Okay, so your GMO greetings. Yet I'll say we thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For those who are unaware, I am Odwirafo, Kwesi Ranempta, Akan Odwirafo of Akwamu Amaruka Tifimu, which is the Akwamu Nation in North America, within Odwiraman, the purified nation, Afurakane, Afurai Kaitnit, meaning African Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So we are continuing on with our series. We've done a number of different lives on the topic dealing with SUSUW, which is the ancient term for meditation, ancient ritual practice, practiced tens of thousands of years ago in ancient Africa, millennia before we took that practice into India and different parts of Asia and so forth. But we're dealing with the nature and function of SUSUW as it relates to us in this context of our spiritual anatomy. So just like you have a physical anatomy, you have your physical body, you have a bunch of smaller bodies, brain, lungs, heart, liver, spleen, and so forth, the organs that regulate order within the body and have their various functions that preserve the integrity of the entire organism and so forth. Your spirit, the spirit that animates the physical body, it has different potencies as well. It has different spiritual, quote unquote, organs as well. And these have been well delineated in the language and culture of ancient Khanit and Kamit tens of thousands of years ago, which is ancient Nubia and Egypt, and preserved in our ancestral cultures and languages across the continent, north, south, east, west, central, and so forth, and also preserved in our ancestral religious practices, even when we were forced into the Western Hemisphere during the Musuwo Kesie, the Great Diversity, the enslavement era. So we're going to show what the spiritual anatomy is, just like you can understand how your body functions at a greater, more optimal degree when you understand the organs and organ systems. We also understand the nature and function of the spirit body when we understand the spiritual anatomy, the various divisions and organs of the spirit body. So, and that also deals with our physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, communal health, and so forth. Just like you need to have your various organs and the different vitamins and minerals that keep your organs strong and functional properly, you know, you also need your spiritual organs to be balanced as well. So now, first we want to look at so you see this image of the female divinity, the female Abosom, as we call her in Akan, the goddess, the Abosom, the force in creation. She is called Cheche in the Akan language. She's also called Afi or Afia or Afua. In ancient Kemet, she's called Hether or Hetheru. Hether in ancient Kemet becomes Cheche in Akan and so forth. And we did a couple of lives and different aspects of her energy complex and so forth. Her sacred symbol is the ancient animal totem, the Achinebois, the Kaet. The term for cow in ancient Kemet is Kaet, like the term for bull is Ka. The term for cow is Kaet. So her male counterpart, the divinity Min, he's also represented by the, bull animal totem, so the sacred Ka. She is represented by the Kaet, the sacred cow. So we're going to get into that. First, we're going to show some basic information about her, and then we're going to show the relationship between Hetheru and this notion of the spirit body and preserving the spiritual anatomy. Now, let me switch over to one of our articles on Hetheru just to give a basic breakdown. This is one of the many articles we've published on divinities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week. Okay. So as we said in the Akan language, she's called Afi. And that title is derived directly from the title Fayit in ancient Kemet, is preserved as Afi. and Akan. And she is called Heteru in ancient Kemet, Oshun in Yoruba, and so forth. So we say that Afi, also Afia, Afua, is the abosom, which is deity, force of nature, of the Ochin, the planet, Afi, so-called Venus. Her Da, or day in the Akan tradition, is Fida, which is Friday. She is referred to as a wanderer, traveler, adventurous, innovative, creative, and so forth. The attributes of that energy complex. She is the abosom, the divinity, who governs the sensual attraction, which is the precursor to sexual activity, procreative activity, and that which replenishes its harmony, which is pleasure. Afi governs the divine reproductive system, creative structure, and Abadie in creation, which is the divine body of Nyamewa, Nyame, the supreme being, and thus the reproductive system within the Afurakani, Kyiniba, the African black body. She governs the fallopian tubes and so forth, the gestation process. So that is her planetary shrine in the physical body. The shrine of that divinity's energy is in the fallopian tubes. And then we're going to get into, in the spirit body and so forth. That same region is what the whites and their offspring call the sacral or sacral kakra. In one of our books, we show that kakra, so-called chakra, is stolen from the language of ancient Kemet. So is the term yoga and so forth. But she governs the fallopian tubes. She is the creative, the one who fuses together things that are different externally in a harmonious fashion for new development. So when she fuses together, the force that fuses together different sounds, for example, in a harmonious fashion, which generates music, fuses together different colors and shapes to generate art, painting, and so forth, fuses together different movements in a harmonious fashion, which manifests as dance, fuses together, complementary opposites, naturally occurring complementary opposites. The Afurakani, or African man, Afurakaidi, or African woman, fuse together in a complementary fusion so that we can come together. Marriage takes place, copulation takes place, procreative activity, the fusion of the sperm and ovum in a harmonious fashion so that conception can take place. So she's the magnetic force that draws us together in a harmonious fusion, the creative one, innovative one, governing art and music and dance and, beauty and fertility and all these different things. But the basis of that energy is fusing together naturally occurring entities in a harmonious fusion to produce something that never existed in the world before, but is a manifestation of divine order. And that manifestation of divine order is harmony. And beauty is really simply, the manifestation of divine harmony, which is a revelation of divine order. So when they talk about Heheru, the goddess of beauty and sensuality and art and, dance and song and, all these different creative things, it's that force, magnetic force that draws together different entities in a harmonious fusion and produces an energetic force that brings harmony into the world, which is simply beauty is a manifestation of divine harmony. So now she's critical to this notion of recalibrating ourselves when your spiritual anatomy is out of alignment. Okay, the screen went out for a second, but when your spiritual anatomy is out of alignment, then we must recalibrate, and she's critical to that recalibration spiritually, and of course, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, communally. We're dependent on this force in creation that naturally fuses together things in a harmonious fashion. If you get out of harmony, you need to tap into that force that can bring that harmony back. Sometimes we do that instinctively, but when you're mature, spiritually mature, wittingly, deliberately how to tap into that force, not just instinctive and you just happen to fall upon that, but specifically dealing with that force, so you can bring harmony. It's no different than someone stumbling on a certain herb in the forest and so forth, that happens to be the herb they need to, clear up some physical malady, as opposed to studying that, understanding the different medicinal use of various herbs. So when anybody has an issue in the community, you know exactly where to go, what herbs to pick, how to procure them, how to prepare them, and heal that malady. You're not just stumbling on something, but maturity says we need to study, understand, catalog, and utilize it for our best benefit. Now, so let's get to another important manifestation of Heru, which is critical to what we're talking about tonight. And then we'll get into the spiritual anatomy. Now, this is an article that we published, very short article on Heru in her form of Min Minit. And when you see the Medutu here, the drop board, and the wavy line energy and so forth, the Medut for that. So you have Min Minit, also Min Minua, and so forth. So you see the little vessel for the new sound and the spiral rope and so forth for the U. So it's Min Minut, also Min Minit. And then you see the seated female, shrouded female, showing this represents a divinity, a female divinity. So that is a title of Heru. Now, we just said that when she possesses the planet Afi, uses her energy that bathes the planet Afi, so-called Venus, and uses that entity to transmit her energy to the earth and so forth, she's called Afia or Afua. But when her spirit possesses the planet Amini, so-called Saturn, she's called Min Minit or Min Minut and so forth. And this is what we're talking about in this context. Now, so when we say one of the titles of the Abosom, the deity Heru, is Min Minit, when she operates in harmony with Aminet and possesses the planet Amini Saturn. Min Minit is vocalized in the Akan language as Amiminiwa. So if you see Akan female born on Saturday, they will have the Kradin or soul name Ama or Amewa or Ami or Amiminiwa. That's derived from Min Minit or Min Minua, which became Min Minit or Amiminiwa in Akan. So the Akan people of Ghana and Ivory Coast still speak the same language and still use the same names, same deities, same functions, and so forth. And that is even preserved in the Hoodoo tradition in North America, which is the Akan tradition. So you'll find that we have names like Amma or Emma for someone born on Saturday. Sometimes they don't even know why they have that name, Amma or Emma. That's because they're born on Saturday. They're a child of the divinity Amiminiwa, Minminit, Heru, and they carry her energy into the clan. So all females born on Minminida, Saturday, are those whose Akra, soul, divine consciousness, is governed by Amiminiwa, Minminit, or Heru. So now we have an excerpt from one of our books. And in fact, let me show you real quick. We're going to switch over from that. This is an excerpt from the book Obaatine, Afuraikani Womanhood. So instead of just reading the excerpt, we'll go directly to the book. Now, for those who are unaware, this is our Nhoma page, Nhoma in the Akan language, which means book or publication. So to date, I've published 31 books. All of the ebook versions of my 31 books are free on this page. So when you go to the Nhoma page, and I'll put that in the chat room for you right now, so you can see the page. Okay, so that's the link in the chat room. So the Nhoma page And you'll see we have the planet Afi and Heteru, the sacred animal totem. So you will see the copies of the front covers of all the books when you scroll down. And when you click on the covers, it'll take you directly to the book to open up the book, or take you to the page for the book and so forth. So these are the 31 books. When you scroll through, you'll see all of them. The book that we were just quoting from, we have the Oberima Afurakani Manhood book. And then we publish Oba Tain Afurakani Womanhood in concert with a number of sisters who contributed to the book. And of course, we recommend, the manhood book for all Afurakani Black men, the womanhood book for all Afurakani women, African Black women, and so forth. So it's dealing with the female divinities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week. And once you get to part 7, that's when we're talking about the planet Amini. Hold on 1 second. So we're talking about the planet Saturn Amini and its influence not only on Earth, but also on our physical bodies and our spirit bodies and so forth. Just like we understand that the moon has a gravitational pull that causes the rising and falling of the tides on Earth. Earth is 70+% water. Your body is 70+% water. So the gravitational pull of the moon causes the rise and fall of the tides within your body, meaning you retain more water at certain points of the month, and then you retain less water. So when you're taking in breath, breathing, exhaling, inhaling, but also taking in food and water and so forth, sometimes you retain more water, so your tides are higher, you're more full and so forth, and sometimes you burn up that water and your tides are lower. When your tides are higher and you're more full of water, deeper and so forth, you have more of an internalized, introspective, contemplative, perspective, focus. When you burn up that water, you're more fired up. You have a more externalized, aggressive, outward thinking, perspective and energy expression. So we understand the gravitational pull of the moon with respect to Earth and us on Earth when we're connected to the spiritual forces that animate the moon. The same is true of the various solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that move in a certain cycle every 7 days. They affect the Earth and also us as Afurakani people on Earth, all natural cycles on Earth, inclusive of plant life and animal life and mineral life and so forth. But most importantly, not only the physical aspect, not just the gravitational pull and their energetic influence on plant life, animal life, and mineral life and us, but also the spiritual forces that animate the sun, moon, and these different planets. When we connect our spirits with theirs, we engage in spirit possession, spirit communication, they affect us in a certain way. Now, hold on 1 second. All right, so we're talking about that. And we show this in the Medutu, in the hieroglyphs and so forth, Min Minit, a form of Het Heru. They say Hathor, but Het Heru, adored in the Fayum, a region of Kemet and so forth. So we say when she's operating as Afi, the divinity Afi, she operates as the female divinity, animating the planet Venus and so forth. But when she operates in harmony with the great Mother Amenet, she's called Min Minit, possesses the planet Amimini. And we talk about because the planet Min Minit reaches within the 7-day cycle is greatest, because the birth is widest, because her cycle, she completes the cycle of those 7 days on Saturday or Min Minida. She's recognized in Akan culture as the ancient one, the elderess, Atoa Pima, she who is unsurpassable, These are also references to experience and knowledge. Minminit is the divine repository of Amamre of culture. The energetic effect of Minminit upon Asase Earth is manifest through the axis, the magnetic pole running through the planet, constantly transmitting and processing the various projections from all of the other celestial bodies. The central axis running through our bodies, fired by the marrow in our bones, continuously transmitting and processing the energy contributions from the organs and organ systems within you, and projections coming from those outside of you affects the manner in which you approach the world. Your attraction to or repulsion from certain activities, individuals, and entities shape your way of interacting, your way of life, your culture, and so forth. So when we're talking about Heteru's Minminit, the ancient one, the elderest, the repository of wisdom, the planet Amin or Minminiwa and so forth, planet Saturn, the elder one or elderest one, the one that preserves culture, that crystallizes culture without profaning culture, without profaning our way of life. So when you get out of harmony with order, you have to attune to the force that, number one, attracts things, resources, and fuses them together in a harmonious fashion, but also the one that preserves ancestral protocol, the one that preserves culture, the one that crystallizes culture. When you see the mummified, spiritual forces in Kemet, and they're wearing the mummified wrappings and so forth, when we mummify a body and then 5,000 years later, they go into a tomb and open it up and it looks like it was just, mummified a week before, that's preservation. That's crystallizing and stamping, in time, for all time, the manner in which that form was preserved. So we preserve our culture in this pristine state. That mummification process is the crystallization of the culture, so it's not profane, so we can always access it without, a profane expression of it. So it's not corrupted by somebody over time, and we try to access it and utilize it. It's no different than making sure that your food is preserved. You're putting food in the refrigerator, you're preserving the food and so forth. You don't want it to spoil, because when it's time for you to consume it, you don't want to poison yourself. You want it to be preserved. When we preserve our culture, including our ritual culture, ritual practices, when we need to access them, we can access something that's pristine, that's crystallized, the ancient one, the elderest, the repository of wisdom. So as Minminit, she's dealing with that aspect of culture. We need to tap into the creative force that also preserves culture in a pristine, non-profane fashion. Now, and I'm going to switch real quick before we get into the spiritual anatomy. Actually, no, let's switch over. So I want to get into this. Okay, so you see that we're using the term HONAMSU. And the reason we're using that is because we're going to go through one of our publications dealing with the spiritual anatomy, and that's the title we use. All right. Okay, so this article is an article that we published a few years ago, and we're showing, number one, the spiritual anatomy, the different major spiritual divisions of the spirit, but we're also showing that the very same terms for the different divisions of the spirit in the language of ancient Kemet are the very same terms that are used in the Akan language of Ghana and Ivory Coast. And first and foremost, because Akan is our ancestry, we are Akan. So you'll see that we publish on the Akan Ancestral Religion and so forth. And we also show that Hoodoo, which is Akan Ancestral Religion in North America. Millions of Akan people live in Ghana and Ivory Coast today. Collectively, about 26 million Akan people between Ghana and Ivory Coast in West Africa in West Africa, one of the largest ethnic groups on the continent, but also one of the largest groups from whom we were stolen and forced into the Western Hemisphere during the enslavement era. So just like there were many Yoruba people forced over here, many Igbo people forced over here, many Bakongo people forced over here, Ovambo and Mindi and so forth, there were many Akan people forced into the Western Hemisphere. And those of us who are ancestrally Akan, we maintained our Akan ancestral religion under the Akan term Undu. Undu means medicine from roots, trees, and plant life in the Akan language. It also means to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession and spirit communication. Undu was preserved in North America as Hoodoo. So Hoodoo is Akan ancestral religion. So when we talk about Akan ancestral religion and the Akan language, you'll see that the language of ancient Kemet and the culture of Kemet and the names of the deities and so forth have been preserved in Akan culture because we're the same people. We migrated from the east after the fall of Kemet, after invasions by Greeks and Romans and so forth and Arabs. But prior to the Arabs, the Greeks and Romans, some of us remained in that area and some of us migrated west, reestablished Akan civilization in the region of what is now Mali and so forth, near Mali, even near Burkina Faso, Mauritania, and so forth. The ancient empire of Ghana, or Akara, about 1,000 years later, because of Muslim invasions, Almoravids, and so forth, we migrated from the region of ancient Ghana, the ancient empire, further south towards the forest belt in the region of what is today Ghana and Ivory Coast. And we reestablished the Akan Empire in the forest belt and savannah region there. Then hundreds of years after that, some of us were stolen from that region and brought into the Western Hemisphere during enslavement. So this is how some of us got from ancient Kyiniba and Khanit into West Africa and into the Western Hemisphere. But we preserved the tradition and the culture and so forth. Now, so looking at this, we're going to go point by point. And in fact, let's just show this real quick before we get into that. I just want to show you a couple of images. Okay, another one of the books I published is this one, Ankh, The Origin of the Term Yoga, Karakasa, The Origin and Nature of the Chakra. And we proved that the terms yoga and chakra are not from Sanskrit, not from the language of India and so forth. Ankh is the origin of the term yoga. We show that linguistically and cosmologically. And one of the things, we go into detail about the linguistics, the Meduten, sort of the hieroglyphs and so forth. You'll see, for example, you see when you look at the etymology of the term yoga, they'll talk about it traced back to the Proto-Indo-European root, or traced back to Sanskrit, and then before Sanskrit, the parent of Sanskrit in India, the Proto-Indo-European language family, and they'll say it comes from yoke, or yug, or yunk, meaning to yoke, and even the English word yoke comes from yonk, means to yoke and so forth, but they say it's yonk or yung. That's a corruption of ankh or yonk and so forth. And we show that even in ancient Kemet, one of the spellings of ankh, which is pronounced in a certain dialectical variant as yonk, corrupted into yug by the Proto-Indo-European language and so forth. Yung became yonk, corrupted from ankh and so forth, but you'll see that the goat has the ankh around its neck in the form of a yoke. So the word ankh meaning life, the life principle and vitality and so forth, is around the neck of the animal or the animated force. So it's the life ankh force, the animated life force, and so forth. But the ankh is around the neck of the animal in the form of a yonk, of a yoke. That's the relationship between yoke, yonk, and ankh. Even the term yank in English is yonk. So yoke and ankh is the same term linguistically, but it's also cosmologically. The ankh unites the spirit, the ba, and the ka, the soul, together in the spirit body and pulls together all of the spiritual organs that we're going to talk about. So we show that, and then we also show very quickly that the term chakra, also written kakra, comes from the ancient, which means wheel or circle, comes from the ancient term kara in ancient Kemet, thousands of years before Hinduism, thousands of years before Buddhism, and so forth. And kara is a redoubling of kara, which means a shrine or a sanctuary of a divinity. And it also means circle. And they talk about the circular shrines of the divinities and so forth. And then we show in the book, we start getting into these 7 sacred knots that go along the spine. And there's a ritual invocation to the 7 knots and the 7 deities that govern the 7 knots. And of course, those are the regions of the different 7 kara, misnomer kakra or chakra and so forth. But that's stolen directly from our language and culture. You'll see all of that fully incorporated in the texts of ancient Kemet and ritual thousands of years before India. So it also shows this 7-tiered breakdown of the division of the spirit. So now let's look at these different aspects of the spirit body. The HONAMSU. Okay, now we get into it. Spiritual anatomy, HONAMSU, identical in Kemet and in Akan culture. So the different aspects of the spiritual anatomy, the ba, ka, Aakhu, ab, Hati, Sahu, Khaibit, and Su. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Okay, so basically the ba is the spirit, ka is the soul, Aakhu is the illumination, quote unquote third eye and so forth. The ab is the spiritual heart. Hati is the heart-lung complex in this region. Sahu is the spirit body itself. The Khaibit is the aura that surrounds you and so forth. The Sahu or Su is your essential nature. So we're going to go through each one of them. So first and foremost, we show in the language of the Akan people of West Africa, Africa, the term honam means the physical or flesh, enam, self, hun. So hun means self, enam means your flesh or your skin. And then we show that the term su means the essence or essential nature. This is why we use the term HONAMSU to describe the spiritual anatomy. But we make a comparison. In the language of ancient Kemet, anim, skin of human beings or animals and so forth, anem. Then we look in the Akan language. What is the word for skin or flesh? Enam. So the same word, enam, for flesh or skin is also the same word, anem or enam, in ancient Kemet, flesh or skin. Same term today that the Akan people speak that we used thousands of years ago because we're the same people. And then honam, ehon means self, Na means flesh. So the flesh self is the physical body. Now, so we're just showing that just to give, some context to what's going on. But the first thing we talk about is the spirit itself. The term for spirit in ancient Kemet is Ba. The Ba for males, Ba'et for females, is the term for spirit. That is the divine living energy that animates you, that solar energy, that solar fire that gets inside your system and animates you. There's a spiritual force that animates you, that allows you to move and function and operate and have vitality and so forth. Instead of saying that's my spirit, we say that is my Ba. For males, Ba'et, or Bat for females. Now, we showed the Medutu for that. So we say this is the animate winged fire burning within us. It is the living or life force. It is a child of Ra and Ra, the creatress and creator, who are the great Ba and Ba'et in creation. They're the great spirit in creation. So Ra is the creative power, Ra'et is the creatress. The creator and creatress are the great spirit that animates all of creation. In Akan, this spirit of life existence is called Ba Ra, which is Bara, Bara, or Bra. Same term, and so forth. The root of it is Ba. So you see Ba here. The whites and offspring define it as soul, but it's really spirit. And we're going to show why. The bowl of burning incense with the flame arising, and the bird shows it's an animate winged bird fire, sometimes shown as a flat-horned ram, the animal moving around, operating, running across the fields and so forth, the animate Ba ram fire. So an animated fire is your spirit. So Ba for males, Ba'et for females. When we look in the Akan language, even the general terms, Ba for a child is Aba, offspring, child, son, daughter, and so forth. Aba. The term for a woman, you'll see the mark here, is Oba, and it's a high tone and a low tone following. So Oba is woman. Oba is child, offspring. Obanin or Obani is for males. The Ba is the spiritual force. Nin defines it as a masculine spiritual force as opposed to a feminine spiritual force. So Oba is woman. Obanin or Obanima or Obenima is male, but the root is Ba for male, Ba for woman, Ba for child. And of course, that is, used in the language every single day. Now, let's look at we're going to look at quickly a more defined definition in an article that we published on our site about the nature of the Ba and Ba'et. In this particular article, we were talking about the female force, Aba, Nekabet, but in that context, we talked about the spirit. So, this is the symbolism for the spirit force, the head of the human being who this force belongs to. The body of the bird and so forth, showing it's an animate force moving through you. Let's show another image just to prove that point. You'll see when the person, the deceased individual, male or female, their spirit leaves the body, the little ba bird, the little solar bird, the solar fire dwelling within you is fed by the female divinity Nut, who is in the sacred tree, the spiritual force in the sacred tree. You'll see that she's pouring energetic libation to the individual who transitioned, as well as their spirit. And the spirit is drinking that divine living energy, is replenished by that, and then the spirit will get back inside the body to animate that spiritual body. But that little spirit dwells within the body. Your spirit animates your physical body. Your ba animates your physical body. Your ba'et animates your physical body. Now here we show, just like the vulture who is sacred to the female divinity Nekabet, her sacred animal totem, you see her headdress with the vulture and so forth. So here she's in the form of the woman. Sometimes they show her, her sacred animal totem is the Mut, the vulture, and they'll show her in the form of a vulture. She governs the respiratory system. So the breast of the bird, the heart, the two wings are the lungs that expand and contract. So you have a bird inside of your chest that expands and contracts. That is the respiratory system governed by Nekabet. Within that great vulture symbolism seated in the chest, within the respiratory system, within the air, is also solar fire. So we talk about the great vulture. You have a vulture sitting in your chest right now, a spiritual vulture. When you expand and contract your lungs, the great vulture is expanding and contracting her wings so that you can breathe in and out. She's seated right here in the chest region. That's why they talk about Abba, Nekabet, governing the respiratory system and so forth. That spiritual force within the respiratory system. But within the air, of course, is the solar energy. Just like when you breathe air, you're also breathing in solar fire. So within that lung structure, within the great vulture, there's a smaller solar bird sitting within the respiratory system. This is the symbolism of Kemet that shows you exactly what's going on with you. And that solar bird is the Ba, the Bayat. The symbolism is the bowl with the flame rising out of it, the bowl of burning incense with the flame, the head of the person and the body of the bird, or the person, head of the person, body of the bird, and has a solar disk, a fire disk on the head. So it's an animate or a winged fire. Another example of that from ancient Kemet, you have this individual. So you have this solar bird, you have a bird inside the chest, the wings are the lungs and so forth. There's a solar fire within you, and you expand and contract. You cause that fire energy to surge throughout your solar system, animates your arms, legs, everything else, as well as your spirit body as well, filled up with that solar fire energy. That is the Ba, that is Ba. And then so this is another image of Nekabet in the full form of the sacred vulture and so forth. So that is the spirit. Ba is spirit, Bayat is spirit. And when you see that, you see that it's seated in the heart of, cardiovascular system, but just like the heart sends out the blood, and the blood carries oxygen to every cell in the body, and within the oxygen is that solar fire and so forth. Even though it's seated in the heart region, it spreads out as, it's carried by the blood. The life force energy is carried by the blood. So that is the spirit. And just like oxygen animates all parts of your body, is all throughout all of your cells and so forth, the life force energy, the fire energy is all throughout your entire body. That is the Ba, the Bayat. Now, Ka, soul. What is your soul? Your divine consciousness. Scroll up a little bit. So the Ka is the soul. The term soul in ancient Kemet is actually Ka. They'll mispronounce it, define it as spirit, but it's really Ka, the soul. The Ka, or your soul, is your divine consciousness. It is an actual deity dwelling in the head region for Afuraikani people only. We have a divinity that governs our head. So that spiritual force in the head that pulls you in the right direction and guides you to thoughts, intentions, and actions that are in harmony with divine order. That is the divinity. It is a male divinity if you're male, a female divinity if you're female, assigned to guide you throughout the course of your life. That is, of course, with Afuraikani people, African Black people only. It is your personal Orisha, personal Abosom, personal Vodou, and so forth that guides you. Depending on the nature of the energy complex, it can be a fiery divinity or water divinity and so forth. Depends on who you've been assigned to, but that's the divinity in the head, called Ka in ancient Kemet. So, it's Ka in ancient Kemet. It's called Ka Ra or Kara, Kara or Kra. In Akan, it says the soul of a man in the Akan language, or Kra or Kara, but it's Ka in ancient Kemet. We say in Akan culture, the Kra is the personal Labosom deity who takes up residence in the head region of the spirit body to guide the individual throughout the course of his or her life. Note that in ancient Kemet, that symbol, the two arms with the hands up, that is the symbol of the Ka. It's placed on top of the head, showing where the Ka resides and so forth. And even if we look at the term Ka or Kai in ancient Kemet, as spelled in the Medutu, in the hieroglyphs, to think out, to meditate, to speak, to repeat, to say, cry out, call out, tell out. Then when you look in the language of the Akan people today, Ka, to emit a sound, to utter, speak, say, tell. So the same definition of utter, speak, say, or tell in Akan language today is the same definition to speak, repeat, say, cry out, call out, tell out in ancient Kemet. Ka, to touch, to come in, to be in or bring into contact with, to join. And the Ka symbol, of course, are the two arms and two hands reaching out to touch, bring into contact with, join, and so forth. The word itself, defined in the Akan language, is the exact definition and description of the symbol shown in ancient Kemet thousands of years prior. Now, one of the books that we published is an entire book that focuses specifically on the nature of the soul of the Ka, the Kayat. And we're going to look at it real quick. This is the book page once again. And this is the book. Of course, you can download this book for free to get some details, but we just want to show quickly. Once again, we show the Ka in Kemet is a Kra and Akan. We show that the symbol is often shown on the head of the individual to show that is the divinity in the head. Just like you have a physical body and you have smaller bodies within your physical body that regulate order within your physical body, those smaller bodies are the organs, brain, heart, lungs, liver, and so forth, that regulate order in the entire body. You have a spirit body, and your spirit body is governed by smaller radiant forces within the spirit body. Those are the spiritual organs. And one of them is the Ka, Kayat. Just like your physical body has a smaller body, the brain that regulates order in the physical body has the blueprint of everything that should take place within the physical body, is the leader, director of the physical body. In your spirit body, there's a radiant force. So if someone transitioned, their spirit left the body, they're an ancestral spirit. If somebody could see that person clairvoyantly and they say, I see the spirit of my grandmother, I see the spirit of my grandfather. If they're clairvoyant, they will see that radiant force in the head region of the spirit body. That is the Ka, or Kayat, the soul, the divine consciousness, the divinity governing the head, the spiritual force that has the blueprint of everything that should take place within your spirit, including the nature of your spirit itself. Do you have fiery, explosive energy from a fire divinity that you bring into the clan? Do you have the energy of a water, river divinity or ocean divinity? Do you have the energy of an earth divinity? Do you have an energy of an atmospheric divinity and so forth? All of that is defined by the Ka in the spiritual head. So it's the spirit's brain. You have a physical brain that regulates your physical body. You have a spiritual brain or consciousness that regulates your spirit body. Again, that magnetic pull in your head towards thoughts, intentions, and actions that are in harmony with divine order. Even if you go against the pull, if your head is pulling you this way to engage in behavior and activities, and you go against that, and then you run into a number of problems, you'll say, well, something was telling me. Sometimes you'll say, my first mind and my head was telling me I should have done this and I went against it. If something is pulling you one direction, you're going the other direction, you're going against the pull of the divinity in your head. Now, sometimes people just get people's ideas, or they have influences from other ancestral spirits or other discarnate spirits that are not ancestral, different divinities. But for Afro-Kaini people, we have a divinity that governs the head, and that's the pull in the head, giving you that proper direction. The blueprint of how you are to function in the world is written in the Kra, written in the soul, the divine consciousness. So we know that. We know how to deal with the Kra. We divine with the divinity that governs the head. It's an entire, in fact, ancestral religion revolves around you're tuning to the divinity that governs the head to make thoughts, intentions, and actions in harmony with divine order. So we have an entire book going into detail about the nature of the soul, the divine consciousness. And this is why we place the brain and so forth inside of the symbol for the Ka, showing that it is the spirit body's brain. So you can go through that book in detail, and it's a lot of information in there talking about the divinities that govern that and everything. So now let's go back to the article and get to the third piece, which is the Aakhu, the inner eye. Spelled here, Aakhu in the language of ancient Kemet. It's Ehun in Akan, Ekhu or Aakhu in ancient Kemet. So the Aakhu is the inner eye, the force of divine insight, clairvoyance, intuition, and wisdom. The related term Aakhu thus references the eye of Ra, the spiritual eye, which illuminates the darkness. In the physical body, it is the seat of the pineal gland, which is a light-sensitive gland deep within the brain structure. The feminine form for inner eye is Aakut. The Akan term Ehun is pronounced with a nasal O, so it's Ehun, which is directly derived from Ekhu or Aakhu and so forth. Now, so when people talk about the third eye, the spiritual eye, even the karu, so forth, the kara, so-called, chakra in the third eye region, that is called Aakhu in ancient Kemet, Aakut, and that is a division of your spirit. So let's show real quick. Well, first, So they'll say the spirit soul. They were trying to define it, but you'll see it's Aakhu. And further definition, the eye of Ra or Heru, the fiery light of the sun, a flame goddess, the fiery Arat on the Pe'ah, so-called Pharaoh's crown, and so forth. So you have this illumination, the capacity to see within the darkness, including spiritual darkness and so forth, the third eye illuminated and so forth. So Ehun means self. We also have Ahun, marrow in the bones, the brain. Hun-hum in Akan is a reduplication of Ehun, spirit, the spirit of a man, but they're talking about the inner eye and so forth. And related terms, home, deep, very deep set of a wound, a well of eyes in their cavity, and Ehunu, bark of a tree, rind, husk, shell, the rind of a pineapple, and so forth. We were just showing that in the Akan language, the same term, Ehun, for the self, Ehun, the spiritual self, also is related to Ehun, the marrow and the bone, the brain, Ehun, deep within the eyes and the socket, and Ehun, the rind or husk of the pine and so forth, the pineapple. That's the deep spiritual force, deep within the brain, near the brain and so forth, deep in the center of the brain. When you go directly into the third eye, center of the body and so forth, it goes deep within that region where the pine husk, pineapple husk, rind, pine cone, and so forth, deep within the eye sockets, in between the eyes, and so forth. They're pinpointing the region of the brain, deep within the wells of the eyes, the sockets, a structure that's like a pine cone, pine rind, and so forth, husk or shell. That is the pineal gland on the physical side. The spiritual, quote unquote, pineal is the Aakhu for males, Akutu for females. That is the region that allows you to see clairvoyantly, to see an ancestral spirit, to see a divinity, and so forth, to be clairvoyant, to illuminate your path. Now, so we talk about, we're showing in the Akan language the relationship between Ehun self and Hun, the spirit, and Ehun the brain, and Ehun the pine structure and all of that. So Aakhu also, the words of power, protective formulae, spells, magical formulae of Tahuti, the divinity Tahuti, and the sacred bird, the Habwi bird, or so-called ibis, is the sacred animal totem of Tahuti as well as Sesha, the divinity of divine wisdom. They use that same bird of divine wisdom to define Aakhu. Aakhu, light, splendor, radiance, brilliance, glorious deeds, splendid acts. Akuti, the two eyes of Heru or Ra, sun and the moon. And Akut, beings of light, the wise instructed folk. And we showed that same notion of light, illumination, bright, shining, glistening in Akan, Ehun, Ehua, is the same term. So Aakhu meaning light, splendor, radiance, brilliance, and so forth, glorious deeds. Same term in ancient Kemet. And you will find that the term for illuminated or spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, instead of saying spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, or venerable ancestresses and ancestors, or honorable ancestresses and ancestors, they are called Aakhu in ancient Kemet, and Akutu, the illuminated ones, the shining ones. Stars are also called Aakhu and Akutu because they illuminate darkness. They're points of light that illuminate the darkness. So if you're trying to find your way through the darkness and you have light shining, you can navigate your way through the darkness without bumping into something or running into, dangerous animals and so forth. In the same fashion, when you communicate with your ancestresses and ancestors who are spiritually cultivated, and you're in spiritual darkness or ignorance, they can illuminate your path so you can see this is the direction I need to go, as opposed to making, bad decisions. So they're the illuminated ones, and they're also illuminated in the direct, tangible sense. When you have a individual who's spiritually grounded, then their aura, as we're going to see, the Khaibit, is bright and shining and vibrant. You have an individual like that, also an ancestor or ancestors. If you have an ancestor or ancestress who is spiritually not cultivated, they were somebody who was not cultivated on earth and they transition and they're a spirit that's going through negativity in the spirit realm, they don't have a bright, shining, vibrant, powerful aura. They have a small, dim, murky aura and so forth, and they're not bright or shiny. But if you were able to see clairvoyantly the spirit of an ancestor, ancestress who's vibrant and powerful, then they literally will illuminate your space, the space in front of your ancestral shrine, the space in your room and so forth, just like a star will illuminate, the darkness of the sky. The aura of an illuminate ancestor, ancestress will literally light up your space. So there's a physical connotation to the illuminated ones as well as spiritual. Now, let me show you just one of the other books that we have published that touch on an aspect of this. We were talking about Tahuti, the divinity of divine wisdom, represented by that sacred habui bird. Okay, so this is another one of the books that we published. We were talking about the deity Tahuti as also called Fa in ancient Kemet. He's called Fa in Vodun, Sanko Fa in Akan, Ifa in Yoruba, also Orunmila in Yoruba. We were showing his representation in the Akan culture, Yoruba culture, Ewe culture, and so forth, as well as ancient Kemet, showing us the same deity showing up in different cultures with the same attributes and the same title, Fa, Sanko Fa, Ifa, and so forth. His sacred animal totem is the habui bird, or the so-called ibis. You see as the head of the habui bird. This is the same symbol in the Akan, Abramu, or gold weights and so forth. Now, a couple of things. There's a relationship between that divinity and Het Heru. And we were just talking about Het Heru earlier, governing the fallopian tubes and so forth. We said her sacred symbolism is the cat or the cow, and she wears the cow's horns. Of course, the Sankofa symbol is the form of Het Heru you find in ancient Kemet. You'll see her face on one of the pillars in ancient Kemet that is outside the temple of Hatshepsut in the chapel next to it, adjacent to it. You see that she has cow's ears, showing that sacred animal totem. Same right here, the little cow's ears. Then you see the fallopian tubes. She governs that. The fallopian tubes is where the sperm and ovum fuse together for conception. Then that zygote is implanted in the uterus, and then it's governed by Auset. But the fallopian tubes are governed by Het Heru, and the fusion that takes place, she fuses us together, brings men and women together magnetically, central attraction, and so forth. Then marriage, then copulation, then the fusion of the sperm and ovum, and that happens in the fallopian tubes. So that's her shrine in the body. But then when you look at the face of the divinity, the Sankofa symbol, her sanctuary, you'll see that the face of the cow with the cow's horns is the face of the cow with the horns. The face of the cow is inside the fallopian tube structure. That is the symbol of Het Heru. And those ancient sculptures, pre-dynastic Kemet, are representative of the daughters of Het Heru. Now, That is important because when one is conceived, you see the Sankofa bird reaching back. That's representative of Tahuti and Seshat and the spirit of the child being born in the quote-unquote bush and so forth. And when the child is conceived and is being brought into the world, the male and female divinity of divine wisdom decrees what their function in the world is going to be and how they're to function in the world. And that wisdom is implanted within them spiritually and also physically in the womb and all of that. Tahuti and Seshat are right there in the quote-unquote bush in the womb while the child is developing. So we start showing the relationship between Tahuti and Seshat, the male and female force of divine wisdom, the sacred palm tree and the palm nuts and the divine wisdom and divination and so forth. But they are the male and female force that governs the Aakhu, the third eye. So the shrine of Tahuti and Seshat is the third eye region, spiritually, as well as the quote-unquote pineal gland or quote-unquote pine cone and so forth. That is the shrine of the divinities of wisdom. Their energy animates that shrine in your body. So this is why the pineal gland, the third eye of illumination, also a light-sensitive gland. So the pineal gland secretes serotonin based on the light that stimulates it. It also secretes the hormone melatonin at night and so forth because of shift in light. So the pineal gland itself is a light-sensitive gland, and it secretes hormonal, substances based on the shift in light and so forth. Spiritually, it's the gland, the pineal, the pine cone gland and so forth, the seat of quote-unquote illumination. So we knew that it was a light-sensitive gland thousands of years ago. It's the seat of illumination. It's the seat of the wisdom, the Aakhu, the Akutu, and that's why the term Aakhu, Akutu means light, splendor, brilliance, bright, shining, but it also means wisdom, illumination. Okay, so let's get back to the next part of the spiritual anatomy. And of course, if you have questions in the chat room, you can post them. We just want to get through these different parts of the spirit body. So the next is the heart. You have a physical heart, of course, that sends blood and oxygen throughout the body and all of the cells of the body and so forth. You also have a spiritual heart. The energy, the physical heart is the shrine of the spirit heart. And just like the heart pumps blood, which carries oxygen to every cell in the body, the spiritual heart pumps that solar fire energy, that divine living energy, to every part of the spirit body. Now, the spiritual heart is called Ab, NH Kemet. The term Ab itself is the word for heart. So the heart is repository for blood, which is received. And then once the blood goes to the heart-lung complex, it's oxygenated, fired up and so forth, and then sent out the left side of the heart to all the cells in the body. Just like the physical heart is the repository for blood, the Ab or the heart center spiritually is a repository for the energetic weight of experiences. So when you receive, you consume food and you take in, air and oxygen and so forth, that gets into your bloodstream ultimately. Your heart sends that blood carrying nutrients to all parts of the body. When you breathe in and take in that solar fire and so forth, it captures that energy in the oxygen and sends that to all parts of the body. So it's a repository ultimately for the things that you take in, whatever you breathe in, whatever you consume. Your heart becomes a repository for that, purifies it, and then sends it out through the blood and oxygen to all parts of the body. Your spiritual heart receives and becomes a repository for all of the energetic projections from other individuals, plant life, animal life, mineral life, other human life, and so forth, and their energetic projections toward you and their experiences toward you, and you receive all of that. And also your own interactions, your own experiences, that's also captured within the heart and so forth. It becomes a repository for the energetic weight of the various experiences you have. Now, you can purify those experiences so your heart doesn't become heavy and you become weighed down with other people's stuff or your own bad experiences and so forth, and you hold them in the heart and your heart becomes heavy and you're weighed down and depressed and so forth. Just like your physical heart, through the heart-lung complex, the blood moves into the heart, the right side of the heart moves in the lungs, the oxygen purifies the blood and so forth, burns out impurities. Now you have oxygenated blood, it's pure, it's fired up, and now it can be sent to the rest of the body. If you receive negative spiritual experiences, energetic projections from other people and so forth, as well as repressed, emotions and memories and everything else, it's held in the heart, you can purify it through ritual practice and burn out the impurities, and you have a light heart and you can operate harmoniously. But if you keep those things in the heart and it's full of sludge and muck and dirt and so forth, and your heart becomes heavy and you feel depressed and anxious and everything else, then you become weighed down by that. Ritual practice allows you to purify the heart, make the heart light, so you can operate freely and fully and optimally. And we're going to get into that with this notion of SUSUW meditation. But if you look in the language and culture of Kamit, you will see, so Ab in Kamit, heart, but also the spiritual heart. Ebba in Akan, same term for the spiritual heart. You see the weighing. You see the weighing of the heart on one pan of the scale, the feather of Ma'at, divine law, on the other pan, and your heart is weighed against a feather. If your heart is light, because it's not weighed down by, discordant energy and so forth from other individuals or from yourself when you harbored misguided conditionings and you hold on to that misinformation and discordant energy. If your heart is weighed down, then the scale will tip. If it's not as light as a feather, which is the lightest thing imaginable, then it will tip and your heart is weighed down and you can't move forward in life. This is a scene after death, but even in life, every time you're about to make a decision, your heart is placed on the scale of Ma'at. There's the feather of divine law, which is light, and your heart. Are you going to go in the right direction? Or is your heart going to make the scale tip and you're controlled by past traumas or misinformation or discordant energy or programming and so forth from other individuals or from yourself? And then you make the wrong decision because your heart is not in balance. That's what that represents. But the spiritual heart can, you can feel when someone says they have a heavy heart, that's a literal thing. So just like someone can become so tense and angry that they cause constriction in their blood vessels, their head begins to hurt, the heart starts racing and so forth, all because of what they're thinking. But that can also be reversed. So that is the spiritual heart. Then we have the heart-lung complex called Hat or Hati in ancient Kamit. The heart-lung complex in the Medutu, the hieroglyphs, we see that the forepart of a lion represents the term. As you can see here, that's the head and shoulders and breast and forearm of the lion and so forth. Hat, the front, the forepart of anything, the beginning, the breast, advanced guard of an army and so forth. First, foremost, Hat. They'll talk about the heart, mind, will, disposition, but it's the heart. And you see the little symbol for flesh and so forth. It's really the heart-lung complex. And then we show that Hat in ancient Kemet is Ya in Akan and Yang with the nasal end. Yang, the breast of an animal, as far as the ribs go. You see here the fore part of the lion, the front part, and so forth. That's the yang, same term. And then you have the term yamu. Yamu, the inner cavity of the human or animal body, the chest as well as the abdomen. That's still defining this, the yam. Mu means within, so ya, mu within, mu the ya. And then you have ayamye, good-heartedness, good nature, benevolence, benignity, liberality, bountifulness, charitableness. He is very kind and compassionate, talking about the abdomen, but hence also the heart, the bosom, and so forth. Now, the yang is pointing to the actual physical location in Akan, the yang, this region of the breast region and so forth, but also yam, yamu within the yam, within yam, good-heartedness. That's talking about a spiritual thing, not just the physical heart or that region, but the spiritual aspect of it. So when they say good-heartedness, it could also be bad-heartedness, compassionate, and so forth, representing that region. We also have the term jat, jata, or jat, meaning lion in the Akan language. Hat in ancient Kemet becomes chat, meaning lion. Hat is symbolized by the forepart of the lion. So same term, related term in the Akan culture, same symbol of the lion itself, hat and jat and so forth. Now, what does it mean spiritually? The Akan term yam is comprised of ya and mu. Within the ya, it is the inner cavity of the human, the chest, also referencing the heart or bosom. The related phrase, ayame, meaning the good-heartedness and so forth. Now, one who has a strong chest has the fire of courage or has heart. So it's not just talking about the physical heart, but it's talking about that particular region of the heart-lung complex. We talked about what the heart does. It sends out all the, blood and energy, oxygen. Spiritual heart is repository and, resonates the energetic experiences. The physical heart pulls in all the blood and the nutrients, as well as the debris that's carried in the blood, and it burns up that debris when it moves to the heart-lung complex. The spiritual heart pulls in all the energetic, experiences from yourself and other individuals, pulls all that in as a repository, like DNA preserves the memory of everything that's happened to you, and going back generations, epigenetic memory and so forth. The heart carries all of that energetic signature of everything that's taken place in your life. That's why at the end of life, you can place the heart against the, feather of ma'at, and everything that happened in your life is coded and, saved like a hard drive in your spiritual heart. And if you purify that, you get all the debris out, then your heart is as light as a feather. But that notion of once it's in the heart and it's time to purify it, now you have the heart-lung complex. And let's go back to that imagery. Let's switch back to that imagery from the previous article. And in the article on Nekabet and so forth, you have the heart-lung complex. And that's when that blood is moving through back to the heart, goes through the arteries, goes to all parts of the body, is captured by the veins and comes back to the right side of the heart. Then it leaves the, atrium of the heart and goes into the heart-lung complex. The fire burns it up. And now you're in the Hati, the heart-lung complex. Now you're firing up, purifying the energy that's moving through the heart. Just like the blood is being purified, the energy is being purified and so forth in the Hati. That is the breast region. Now, what is one of the ways and why it's in the breast region, how that is related? we're going to go to the Divinities article, Abba, that we published, talking about Nekabet, talking about the heart-lung complex and so forth. Now, there is when you look at the heart-lung complex, and we have for example, here you see the king seated on his throne. You see Wachet and Nekabet on both sides. That same structure you find the heart-lung complex. See the heart here. You have Nekabet and Wachet in the bronchial tubes and so forth within the heart. So that same structure you'll find there. That is their shrine in the body and so forth. The heart is the king and the female divinities in the bronchial tubes, the air that's in the bronchial tubes and respiration and so forth. That's the same representation you have here. Now, when you look at the deities of ancient Kemet, all of them have shrines in the body, and you can always associate them with their shrines in the body and the way that organs in the body interact with one another. When you look at the stories of the deities in ancient Kemet and how they interact and their marriages and their family relations and so forth, they match up with the functioning of the organs in the body. Now, Nekabet also, you'll see she's the one who's nursing the sovereign and so forth. And as Nekabet, nursing the pharaoh, she is referred to as she of the pendulous breasts. Even her name, Nekabet, you'll see Nekka, protector, guardian, Nek to attack, Nekek to overpower, be mighty, to be strong and mighty and so forth. But also Nekat, pendant hanging of a woman's breasts. Nekaka, pendant of a woman's breast. Nekai, to hang or to descend and so forth. So she's shown as nursing the sovereign. She of the pendulous breasts. But here's the key. The nipples on the breast, nursing the child, that is the secondary function of the nipples of the breast. Just like you have a primary function and a secondary function for different organs. For example, the primary function of the nose is to breathe because you need to stay alive. That's the primary function. The secondary function of the nose is to smell. But even if you had a cold and you can't smell anything, and that can go on for days, because it's a secondary function, you can still survive. But the primary function is you need to breathe through the nose. And if you can't do that for more than a couple of minutes, then you transition, you die. So the primary function of the nose is the breathing. Secondary function is the smelling. And it's the same thing with the mouth, the same thing with the various organs of the body. They have primary functions and secondary functions. The primary function or the secondary function of the nipples is to breastfeed the child. But a woman doesn't have a child her entire life. There's only a certain period that women can become pregnant and give birth and so forth and nurse children and so forth, a certain portion of their lives and so forth. But if they live to be elders and eldresses and so forth, they can't continue that, from the time they are, reach puberty, maybe around 14, 15 and so forth, and they can, become pregnant until, 30 years later, 30 plus years later, when they're in their late 40s, and then they start going through menopause and so forth. By the time they're 50, 51, that part is over. So the time leading up to puberty and the time from 50 until 80 or 90, the next 40 years, they can't do that. But there is a function of the nipples. The primary function is important and is delineated in the culture and language of Kemet as well as our ancestral cultures. And we delineate that in the article. The primary function of the nipples in males and females is their electromagnetic function. The two nipples of the males and females are positive and negative poles, similar to the positive and negative poles of a battery. So we show the 9-volt battery, of course, and all of that. Positive and negative poles, men and women. They are directly positioned over the lungs. They receive and transmit electromagnetic energy, which has a stimulative effect upon the lung-heart complex among the Hati, the nervous system, and contributes to the vibrancy of the Khaibit, the aura. This is their primary function. In this respect, the nipples function similar to the pupils of our eyes. The pupils of the eyes, the wachti and so forth, or uchati, receive sunlight energy, which stimulates hormonal secretions among other processes. The eyes also transmit energy, so they receive and transmit. The above medut, or hieroglyph of the circle with the dot in the middle, used to represent the Aten, the sun, to represent Ra and Ra'et, is the determinative of the star and so forth. It's also for the Adinkra symbol in ancient Akan culture, but they also represent the left and right eyes of Ra. The nipples receive and also transmit directly over the lungs, right and left lungs and so forth. They receive the energy not only of the sun, moon, planets, but other individuals that you come in contact with, plant life, animal life, mineral life, other Afurakani, human life. The energy from the heart and heart-lung complex is projected out through the ports of the nipples, and they also receive energy. So you, just like your eyes receive the energy of the sunlight, and then your pineal gland is, stimulated to secrete hormones and so forth, but you also project from your eyes. You can see, but you can also project energy from your eyes, and that hits somebody. You can stare at somebody across the room and they can feel you staring at them. That's simply electromagnetic energy leaving your body through your eyes and moving through space. Just like the sound of my voice, the sound vibrations are invisible, but the sound waves leave my body, move through space, are picked up by your eardrums, and eardrums oscillate and transmit those sound vibrations into what you can decipher as, language and so forth. Energy leaving your body through the eyes is projected. Energy leaving your body through the nipples are projected. The positive and negative poles are projected and so forth. But you also receive energy through the nipples that stimulate the heart and lung complex as well. And that contributes to the vibrancy of your aura and your energetic field in general. So the primary function of the nipples is a positive and negative pole, no different than a battery to receive energy, process it, and also transmit your own energy. It's a form of communication. Before you even come in contact with somebody, your aura hits their aura first. So, showing an image of the aura. We're going to get into the aura, but the energetic field, just like the Earth has a magnetosphere, and that's measurable, the physical body of the individual, we have a magnetosphere as well. That's the magnetosphere of Earth, that's measurable. We have a magnetosphere surrounding our body, no different than you have a magnet on a table, put another magnet next to the magnet. If the light polarities are facing, you put them close and they will repel each other without touching. The magnetic field is measurable and can be defined. The magnetic field surrounding the body of a human being can be defined. The quality and nature of your magnetic field is determined by our link to the forces in nature. Of course, the white snail spring cannot link with the forces of nature, so they don't have that quality, magnetic nature and quality of a magnetic field that we have. But what's coming from the heart-lung complex, the Hati, through the ports, which is the quote unquote nipples, but the ports that projects your energy into your communal sphere and into the world in general. This also allows you to receive energy to the heart-lung complex. When you experience somebody, of course, you can see individuals, you can hear them, but when their energy is projected, it's picked up by these ports and it's captured by the heart. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, so let's switch back. And it's only a couple more parts of the spirit body. So that's the Hati, the heart-lung complex. Now, Sahu, in ancient Kemet, Sahu. Khan is called Sunsum. That is the spirit body. Sa, or Sahu, the form of a man that exists in heaven, the spirit body. In Akan, that's the Su, which is reduplicated to Sunsum. That's the spirit body. Now, when we talk about the spirit body, it's no different, as we said before. You have a physical body, and then you have a bunch of different organs that are contained within the physical body, and your physical body holds them all together. If you saw someone clairvoyantly, you see their spirit body. And within the spirit body, if you saw clairvoyantly, there's a radiant force in the head region. There's a radiant forces in the chest region, radiant forces here and so forth. Those are the spiritual organs within the spirit body. The Sahu is the spirit body. The Ba, or Ba'et, the spirit or divine living energy, is the solar fire that fills out and permeates the entire spirit body. So there's a difference between the spirit, the divine living energy, and the spirit body or container. We can call it the spirit body or the spirit container and so forth. In ancient Kemet, we call it the Sahu. That's the spiritual, the entity that is the spirit body. In Akan, it's called Sunsum, the spirit body. So that's the definition there. You see the Medutu that define that. And we get into some detail about Akan linguistic information just to prove that it's the same term. Sum is from Sahu, which became Sahu and Su and Sum and so forth in Akan. Just a contraction of Sahu. There's another version, Sehu, to collect, to gather together, to assemble, to sum up, to add up to a total, and that's Sahu. So that general term, Sahu, to collect together, to add up, to pull together, to sum, to bring these things together. That is a, hold on a second. That is a description of the spirit body. It sums up or pulls together, just like your physical body pulls together all of your organs in a harmonious structure. Your spirit body pulls together all your spirit organs in a spirit structure. It sums them up, collects them together, adds them up, and so forth. So, and you see that Sunsum, the root is sum, to stand up things, forming a heap or mass, or being a considerable circumference. So heaping things up together and so forth, same definition. To set, put, place, especially heaps or in a mass and so forth. So sum, to pull things together, to collect them together. Sahu, to collect things together, to pull them together. Same connotations, same term in both languages, because it's the same language. And you'll see the term Sa with the bolt, which is the horizontal bolt, which is the S, the forearm with the open palm, which is the Ah sound, the twisted flax, which is the H sound, the coiled rope, which is the U, and then the symbol of the seal is the determinative symbol, but also a determinative symbol of the mummified figure, talking about this is the spirit body, Sa being the spirit body. And you also have this notion, a related definition of Sa, holding, possession, landed property, estate, allotment, homestead, vicinity, environs, neighborhood, property. And once again, that's a perfect definition of the spirit body. That's the homestead. That's the property. It contains, it's your environs, your vicinity. It contains all of your organs and so forth, your spiritual organs and so forth. It's the homestead for the different divisions of your spirit. All right, so let's switch over. Now, we just touched on this briefly, but the aura and shadow, the term for aura in Kemet is Khaibit. Shoot is one of the terms for a shadow or shade and so forth. So you have this radiant energy. We just saw an image of the radiant energy, the magnetosphere surrounding you and so forth. So the electromagnetic field, but also the energy within that electromagnetic field, that is the Khaibit, the aura, that one can see clairvoyantly, and also the shade or the shoot and so forth, the shadow. So Khaibit or Chaibit or Chaibat in Akan, Kyiniba is the term for umbrella. You see the symbol of the Khaibit or Chaibat is the little umbrella structure and so forth. You'll see the little shade structure. So you'll also see the solar disk. So you have a radiant, vibrant, shining aura similar to a rainbow and so forth. So that's the little shade umbrella symbol. But you also have the term, the solar disk, circle with the dot in the middle, that shining, vibrant aura. But you also have this notion of the term shoot, which also is related to the shade symbol, because when you have a shade, of course, when you block out the sun, then there's a symbol, a black structure that represents your shadow, but our energy is projected in that shadow structure. So there are ritual practices where people try to capture the shadow of the individual and pollute it with negative energy and so forth, and we protect the shadow and all of that. But the shadow, once your energy is projected into that shadow form, it's a spiritual entity in and of itself as well. So this is why, and in Akan, Sunsuma is the term for shadow, whereas Sunsum is the spirit body, Sunsuma is the shadow, or quote unquote shade. You see the term soup means egg and so forth, but this is a shadow or shade or shoot in ancient Kemet emerging from the shrine. The Ba bird is flying, that's going to illuminate the shadow and so forth. There are an entire text and rituals in ancient Kemet and texts in the Runu Pert Imheru, so-called Book of Coming Forth by Day, Coming Forth, it's known as Book of the Dead, invoking the spiritual entity, the shoot or the shadow, invoking that spirit so the Ba can reconnect with the shadow, with the shoot, to illuminate and put that energy back and purify it. So your shoot or your shadow can be purified. So when it reconnects with you, you have a purified shoot or shadow, as opposed to one that's been polluted by other individuals' negative energy, wittingly or unwittingly. Through ritual, someone tries to pollute the shadow, so it affect you negatively. Or someone will lay something, someone will lay a track and so forth in the Hoodoo tradition. So when your shadow crosses that track that they laid, that Hoodoo track and so forth, your shadow picks up that negative energy, and then it gets inside your spirit body and causes you illnesses and all kinds of things. When people talk about shadow work and shade work, really don't know what they're talking about, because if they're not invoking that spirit, that division of the spirit called the shoot, and purifying that entity through invoking the Ba or Bayat, if you're not invoking the Ba and Bayat to purify your shoot or your shadow, which is another spirit entity, so you have a purified shoot or shadow, then all this notion of shadow work is nonsense. They have no clue that it's a separate spiritual entity that's infused with the energy of the Ba and Bayat. But if you don't know you have a Ba or Bayat, then you don't know its interaction or interfacing with the shoot. You don't know the interfacing of the Ba with the Ka, the Ba with the Aakhu, the Ba with the Ab or Hati, and so forth. So that's why, again, like we said in the beginning, it's important to properly define the different aspects of the spiritual anatomy, just like it's important for you to define the different parts of your physical anatomy. What is the liver? What are the lungs? What is the heart? What is the brain? What is the thymus and spleen and pancreas? And what are their roles and how do they interface with one another? And if I have a deficit mineral-wise in the thyroid or parathyroid or the spleen and so forth, I know what vitamins and minerals I need to take in order to erase that deficit to balance myself. Because you know the different parts of the body and how they work together. If you don't know that you have different divisions of your spiritual anatomy, and you don't know that they work together, when you're out of harmony spiritually, you say, I'm just going to pray. You don't know if your ba is out of harmony, or you're out of alignment with the ba, or you're out of alignment with the ka, or you're out of alignment with the Aakhu, or the Hati, or the Shut, or the Khaibit, and so forth. But if you know these things exist, you know how they work together, you know which ones you're out of alignment with when you're suffering physically or spiritually, or both, you know how to get back in harmony. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we're showing that. There's a text associated with that. And then we're showing the Akan Ancestral symbol in Chim Chim, which is related to the Chimba or Khaibit and so forth. You have this serpent swallowing his tail and circling the individual. That's a representation of that Khaibit, that aura surrounding us and so forth, like an egg. Now, we make a note that the term Sekem as energy is really the Ba'at, the divine living energy, concentrated into a specific form. So the Sekem or power is not a spiritual organ in and of itself. It's simply solar energy concentrated into form. Just like you can have solar energy you can have solar energy just shining, on Earth and so forth. And you can take a magnifying glass and place it, in between the solar energy and some leaves, and the solar energy will be concentrated into a beam of light coming out of the other end of the magnifying glass, and then it can cause the dry leaves to burst into flames. The solar energy hasn't changed. It was just concentrated and pinpointed into a laser-like focus. That solar energy, once it was concentrated into a form, a potent form, that solar energy is now called Sekem, or power. That's like the Ba, or the Ba'at, the divine living energy. Once this energy is particularized or concentrated into form or power, it becomes Sekem. But the Sekem is not a different part of the spirit body. So when you see lists of the different parts of the spirit in ancient Kemet, they'll mention the Ba, the Ka, the Aakhu. Very often they won't mention the Hati. They'll mention the Sahu and so forth, and sometimes they'll mention the Sekem as though it's a separate spiritual force, but it's not. And we can prove that in the Akan language as well. And the final piece is the Su in Akan. That's the Sahu in ancient Kemet. That is the essential nature of the person. What is your essence? Even the word essence comes from esse, and esse comes from se, or sewi in Akan, or in ancient Kemet, preserved as Su in Akan and so forth. In the Amharic dialect, you'll see the Amharic right here. It's pronounced sawi, sawi, but also sewi. That sawi is sa in ancient Kemet, or sawu in ancient Kemet. It's Sahu becomes Su in Akan, and so forth. But it's if you look at the term essence, esse and es means to be, from the Proto-Indo-European root, because that comes from esse, sewi, and so forth, means to be. That is the essential nature of the individual. the term person, Sawi or Sewi, is Sa or Su. So, as an individual entity that's separate and distinct from other individuals or entities, from plant life, animal life, mineral life, and so forth, you are a Su. You have an essential nature. And built around that essential nature, you have a brain, but the spirit's brain is the Ka, a soul of divine consciousness. You have a Ba, you have a divine living energy that animates you. You have a Sahu, a spirit body that takes all of that in. You have a Ab, a spiritual heart that receives all of the energetic projections from all your experiences and your interfacing with other individuals or entities. All that is built around your essential nature or essence, your Su. All of those different organs are built around that and all collected by the Sahu. So, just like you have a physical body, you have different organs, they all work together, different systems. Now let's show an image of those different systems right quick. On our Akradin Bosom page, we talk about the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week. The divinities we are named after in our Akan tradition. And we show the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that define the 7-day week. Their symbolism is shown in ancient Kemet, the Akan statuary, represented as these spirit forces, and also the 11 major body systems that they govern. So these 11 male and female divinities, they govern all natural cycles on Earth. They govern your 11 major body systems. Each day of the week is governed by one of these, male and female divinity. Well, male and female divinities govern each one of the days of the week. So you have male and female forces that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. So, but those same divinities govern your 11 major body systems that regulate order within your body. So if you're out of harmony, if there's a problem with the endocrine system or the reproductive system, the exocrine system, respiratory system, and so forth, there's medicine or plants or herbs, minerals, and so forth that you may need to take in to bring back order to these physical parts of the body and these systems, but also the divinities that govern these systems. You may be out of alignment spiritually with them. You need to get back in alignment with that divinity so you have an alignment with that part of the body, but also that aspect of your life and your interactions with other individuals that the divinity governs as well. Okay, so that is the spiritual anatomy. Now, if you have any questions, of course, you can post them in the chat room. We just have one more thing I want to show you. In fact, let's switch back out. Okay, there was a question in the chat room. Question, do you have, hold on a second. Are you affiliated with the Temple of Nyame in DC? I know who they are. I'm familiar with them. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have a personal relationship. I've met people who are part of the organization, so I know who the temple is, and I know it's Nana Kwabena. and so forth, but I'm not affiliated with them personally. Our organization is not affiliated with them also, but we do know who they are. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, you can post them in the chat room. So through the process, we're talking about SUSUW is the term we use for meditation. And let me just show you why we utilize that terminology. And it's through that ritual process that we realign ourselves. And there are different forms of that. And let me just pull up. And for those who are unfamiliar, if you haven't seen this in a different live that we did, gone over this a couple of times. Let me pull this up. Okay, so we use the term SUSUW, of course, and when we look at the Akan term, the ancient Akan term SUSUW, it means to measure, also to think, suppose, presume, to think on, reflect upon, to meditate, consider, also to sound, to search or measure the depth of, to calculate the capacity of, and so forth. So that is the term for meditation, to calculate the capacity of, to measure the depth of, but to measure, to contemplate, to reflect upon. The root of SUSUW is Su, of course, and then Su in the ancient language of ancient Kemet, Su means to measure. So when we talk about measurement, we're talking about measuring the depth of and the capacity of the spirit body and the different spiritual organs that make up the spirit body. You're measuring their capacity. You're measuring their relationship with one another, their energetic expression, and so forth. That's what you're doing. When you're assessing something or tuning into something or contemplating something, you're engaged in a form of measurement. What's taking place? What is the nature of this energetic expression I'm feeling, and so forth? That is a form of measurement. So, and then, of course, we show the the etymological origin of meditate, the root coming from med in Proto-Indo-European, and that means to take appropriate measures. So, of course, even with them, their definition of meditate means to take measure, but even the root med from the Proto-Indo-European language family is stolen from ancient Kemet because the term meh means the cubit, that is the central unit of measurement in ancient Kemet. Meh means to measure, that's taken from meh, from ancient Kemet. So SUSUW or meditation means to take measurement, to engage in measurement, contemplation, and so forth. When we engage that ritual process through ritual invocation of the Abosum, evocation of the Nsumanfo, the ancestral spirits, and so forth, that is the means by which we are to realign ourselves when, disalignment takes place. When there's a disalignment from the Ka and the Ba, the soul and the divine living energy, because we're not in alignment with that energetic expression. There's disalignment from the ab or the heart. You're picking up or, holding on to other people's energetic projections. You're not purifying and burning out those impurities. You're holding on to that, degeneracy and so forth. And so then you end up holding on and projecting other people's negative projections, opinions, false ideas. Then you begin to operate based on that and you create more disorder in your life. The way you purify or purge all of that out is engaging in the form of SUSUW meditation, but SUSUW can take different forms. Ritual dance is a form of SUSUW. Ritual movement is a form of SUSUW. Ritual song is a form of SUSUW in the true sense. There are different forms of SUSUW, but also sitting, contemplation through the breath, meditation, that's another major form and direct form of SUSUW as we commonly see it as meditation. So let me switch back over. So we started talking about Het Heru, and we talked about her in her form of Min Minit, and we said that in that particular form, she's the elderess, the repository of wisdom, ancestral protocol, crystallizing and preserving the culture without profaning the culture and so forth. And when we invoke her through SUSUW, through meditation, invoking her as Min Minit or Min Minua, that ancient elderess, she's the one who will pull together. We talked about her fusing together complementary opposites, fusing together different sounds and forms and movements and so forth for creativity, but also for healing. Just like she can pull things together in a harmonious fashion to create brand new things, scientific innovations or artistic creations that will benefit the community, she also pulls together, fuses together different forms of plant life and mineral life in a harmonious fusion for medicine to heal. Also different ritual forms, ritual practices, whether it's pouring libation or ritual song, ritual chant, ritual drumming, ritual dance, ritual prayer, fusing together these different things, the words to make up a prayer, the chants to make up a ritual song and so forth, the ritual movements for dance, fusing them together in a healing capacity to realign us with order. So through SUSUW, when we invoke Min Minit, Het Heru in her form of Min Minit, engaging in ritual, meditation and so forth, SUSUW, she will help the realigning process as Min Minit, the repository for wisdom and protocol, and restoring that pristine culture. That's her role in that capacity, in that healing capacity. All right, so we mentioned this also in the description for the broadcast. So our SUSUW meditation instructor certification. So you can be certified as a SUSUW instructor, as we call Odwirafo. Odwirafo means instructor, so you become certified as a meditation instructor. The next course is beginning August 5th. That is a Wednesday night. No, I'm sorry. That's a Monday night. So it's Mondays, August 5th through August 26th. Once you complete the instructor certification course, then you receive your certification certificate and so forth. And then you can take that to different places of employment or schools or after school programs or human services agencies, group therapy in hospitals or, mental health, facilities and so forth, women's shelters, places of employment when they bring people out, they'll have seminars and they're going to deal with work productivity and enhancing productivity. And they bring someone out to teach a meditation session or conduct one for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And they typically pay about $100, $200, $300, depending on the organization, for you to come out and teach a session or conduct a meditation session. You introduce what SUSUW is in an introductory fashion. You're not teaching them ancestral religion, but we're talking about SUSUW in the context of tangible, immediate benefits for the individual. So if they need it for, enhancing productivity at work and reducing stress and anxiety, you conduct that session, they'll pay you a couple $100 for that. If you went into a school and they're utilizing it for youth to keep them focused in the morning, so you conduct a 15-minute session and they'll pay you once a week or once every other week to come out and conduct that with the youth at the school or the after-school program. Or if there's a human services agency where they're teaching drug prevention, or they have people who are, have a mental health issue and they have group therapy. They want people to help reduce their anxiety, so they bring someone out in their group therapy session. And before they get into the therapy, they say, hey, we want to bring somebody out, do a quick 15 or 20-minute, meditation session. They'll pay you a couple $100 to conduct that. So some people do it for, part-time work. A couple of times a week, they'll go somewhere and conduct a session, or rent out a space for an hour, invite people to come out. They may pay you $10 or something for a meditation session for 40 minutes. And you can, have 20 or 30 people come out, and you can generate funds, but you're also teaching people at the same time. But if you look at the flyer here, you'll see that it's become very prominent because of this quote unquote scientific benefits, which our people have always known about. They are just becoming aware of that and publishing on that. But when you go to a place of business, shelters, schools, community organizations, a cultural event where they may have a Kwanzaa event and they want somebody to conduct a session before they get started, enhancing learning outcomes, regulating behavior, overcoming anxiety and depression, rebalancing hormones, lowering blood pressure, reducing stress, regulating weight loss, overcoming addictions, developing discipline, maintaining focus to overcome obstacles and short and long-term goals, and so forth. Those are the things that are the immediate benefits for the average person for SUSUW. And that's what we go out and teach, and you'll be certified to do that. Most places want a specific credential in order to pay you to come out. So when you have our certification, you have that credential. Some places do it by word of mouth. They don't ask you for a credential, but most places want to see some form of credential before they, contract with you to conduct a session. And this is why we provide that service. So the next course is beginning Monday, August 5th, a couple of weeks. You can register for that. We have a split payment option. You can make a down payment to preserve your spot and then pay the balance in a couple of weeks. We also have, let me pull that back up. For those who are subscribers to us on the YouTube channel, or you're on a Patreon group and so forth, we have the referral fee option. And the other day, we did a live where we were talking about a different expression of Heteru, but we also talked about the referral fee option. So the referral fee option for our subscribers, something that we're offering our subscribers. And let me pull that up right quick. This is the what we were showing the other night on the live, and of course you can check that live out. Hold on a second. All right. So we just did this live on Friday night. Okay, so Heteru Nehesid or Nkoso, and we were talking about her expression as Nkoso and what that means, and that expression of Heteru's energy and so forth. But also, you can receive $100 as a referral fee simply by referring people to our course. Whether you take the course at this upcoming course on August 5th, or if you're not ready to take the course yourself at this particular time, but you do know people who are interested in learning SUSUW meditation and becoming an instructor so they can, become entrepreneurial, get paid to teach that. They're benefiting the community, but also, engaged in self-employment. If you know somebody who is interested in that, you can refer them to our course. When they sign up for the course, when they register, once they register, we will forward you your $100 referral fee. So when they pay their fee, we'll simply Cash App you or Zelle you or PayPal or Venmo, whatever your preference is, the fee. And we have that offering for the people who follow us on Patreon, on YouTube, and as well as Instagram, our subscribers and followers. This is a way to, it's also an economic empowerment for the community, but it's also because you can reach people that we don't have access to at the time, or we don't know exist, of course. Because you reached them and they came to our course, you're the reason why they came to the course. So, we respond or return the favor basically by giving that referral fee. So if you refer one person, once they register, we will send you the $100 fee. If you refer 2 people, we'll send you $200. If you refer 10 people and 10 people take the course, we're going to send you $100 per person, so you get $1,000 for referring those 10 people. So whether you take the course yourself or you're not ready to take it now, you can still receive the referral fee. So this, even in and of itself, is a form of self-employment. You're functioning as a consultant to reach out and capture people who are interested in this kind of content. And you can generate money for yourself as a consultant, as well as benefiting the community. The only stipulation is that we only teach Afurakaini people, African Black people. So whether they're Black people from America or the Caribbean or the continent, wherever we exist, all Black people are Afurakaini people, African Black people. But we only allow our people to register. We only teach our people. So the European or Asian or white, Hispanic, and so forth could not take our course. They would not be allowed to register. We're empowering our people with the information, our people with this economic opportunity to become certified, our people going out to our people in our various communities to empower our people, help our people heal and so forth, bring balance to themselves individually and in the family and community, but also through economic empowerment, we're only focused on empowering our people. So these referral fees will only go to you, to our people. The class is only for our people. So, but that's it. That's the information we wanted to share. Any questions, you can post them in the chat room before we check out. Let me put the link in the chat room right quick. So the SUSUW link to the SUSUW page on the website. And all you have to do is just share the information, and people, when they see the trailer and the flyer and all of that, that's what's taking place. And it kind of, they get all the information, and it kind of sells itself in that sense because they get the detailed information. Okay. I wanted to take a moment to thank you for what you're doing and the wealth of information you share. We appreciate that. Medase, and Medase in Akan, Medase means, it literally means, Medase means, Me means me, Da means lie, Ase means base or foundation. So Medase is the English translation for thank you, but it means I lie down before you. So that's, the way Akan people, I lie down before you or prostrate before you and so forth. But that's, whenever you hear us say Medase or Yedase, meaning we thank you, that's what we're saying. But Yedase, we appreciate that. Okay. I want to make sure we don't have any more questions before we log off. Okay, Yeni Aseda. And then, so Medase means thank you, and then Yeni Aseda means no need for thanks, but it means welcome, but no need for thanks because we are one. So that's what Akan people. Medase means thank you, I'll lie down before you. Yeni Aseda means no need for thanks because we are one, but in English, you're welcome, basically. Okay. Question, is it accurate if I list the anatomy of the spirit in the form of a 7-step pyramid top to bottom? So you can list it basically in the context or form wherein the spiritual organs basically reside. So, I'll give you an example. So this, okay, I'm going to switch to the other page on our website. Okay, AKONGUASUA, that's our institution page on our website. So that is the institution AKONGUASUA within Akwamumana Maruka Atifimu, the Akwamu Nation in North America. We have a number of courses that we have taught. Some of them are 4-week courses, some of them 6-week courses, some 7-week courses, a couple of 13-week courses. And when you go to the page, all of them are available as archives, so you can purchase the archive courses. Most of them are either $10 or $15. And when you scroll through, you will see the different flyers for the original flyers for the courses. That's a collage of all of them. So, for example, we just finished a couple of months ago the Akradim Bosum course. So it was 2 6-week courses, parts 1 and part 2. And we went through all of the 11 divinities, 1 per week and so forth. One course we did was Achinebois, the original sacred animal totems of the original zodiac. So the animal totems for the deities of Kemet, where they stole these symbols, like the bull is Patamin, and the twins are the male and female divinities, Shu and Tefnut, and Banabjedet, the ram divinities, where they stole Aries from, and Sechimas Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, Neat, the Sagittarius, the archer, Kunwemu, the flathorn ram, is so-called Capricorn. But we show the actual deities and their functions in creation, which is different from what you get from regular astrology. So you see, we did a number of different courses. The Aperu, Hebrews never existed, showing that the Hebrews are a fictional group that never existed. All the characters in the Bible and Quran and so forth are fictional characters who never existed of any race or of any form whatsoever. One of the courses that we did was the Ankh Kara course. And in that course, we went through in detail our book, Ankh, the Origin of the Term Yoga, Kara Kasa, Origin and Nature of the Chakra. And you see that we showed the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies here in the proper order with regard to the Kara Kara, so-called chakras, but in ancient Kemet, Kara Kara. So you see that the deities that govern them, Nana Ajwa, governing the moon, and Afia, Het Heru, governing Venus, and Benna and Abena, which is Heru Bedeti and Sekhmet, governing the planet Benna and so forth, Yao Ya and Abba. So we show that and so forth. But just like we showed that, crown chakra, third eye, throat chakra, heart and lung complex, solar plexus, sacral, and, root and so forth. But we showed the actual deities from Kemet that govern these regions, and we put them in the proper form. The same thing is true with regard to the divisions of the spirit. So, for example, when we talk about the Ka, the soul, the divine consciousness, the divinity in the head region, we showed earlier that the Ka is placed on the head. where the divinity Amemini is, and even the word for brain in Akan is Amemini. This planet is Amemini, so-called Saturn, but Amemini. The deity is Amemini on the male side and Ameminit or Minminit. Het Heru is Minminit on the female side and so forth, where she's possessing the planet Amini, where she's possessing the planet Afi, or Venus. She's in the sacral region, which is the region of the fallopian tubes, of course. But but that's where the Ka, soul, divine consciousness is. You have the solar disk. In ancient Kemet, the right eye is the eye of the sun, the eye of Ra, and the eye of Heru, and so forth. The illumination where you can see and all of that. This is where the third eye vision chakra is and so forth. Kara kara. So that is the Aakhu. For example, you'll see that the Hati, as well as the Ab, the heart and lung complex. You see the planet Yao, Ya, and Abba, Heru, Wachet, and Nekabet, and so forth. And we showed them earlier with Heru sitting in the center and the heart and lung complex and so forth. That's like the heart and lung complex. You have the Hati right here. You'll even have the Su, or the essential nature, here and so forth. So when you look at the, and we'll make a chart and then we'll post it on our site. But you're basically placing the different divisions of the spirit in the regions of the spirit body where they exist. Okay. Are there any Abosom Rishi or Ntoro that animate the asteroids, specifically Chiron, known as the Wounded Healer? So it wouldn't be the asteroids per se. You have, Asase Ya, just like she governs the barren earth and so forth. That energy would extend to those different rocky, entities that are moving through space and all of that. But when you look at Chiron, for example, let me see if I can find this article real quick. I don't want to take too long. See if I have it up. I'm gonna see if I have it up as where I can access it quickly. If not, let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up, hold on a second, this PDF. This is from one of our classes. Okay, so one of the 40 online courses, and again, you can access the 40 online courses. Most of them are, the 6-week courses are like $15, the 4-week courses are $10. So you can access any one of those 40 courses at any time. You can purchase them online right there on the website. And you have access to the password and link, private link and password, unlimited access to these courses and so forth. So hold on a second. Okay, so there's a couple of things. In this particular course, we were talking about the male deity Ma'a in relation to the female divinity Ma'at. Now, most people have never heard of the male deity Ma'a because, we're following the White Nile Spring and we haven't done our own research, but the male deity Ma'a, who governs divine law and creation, the female divinity is a female force of divine law and creation. Without Ma'a, creation doesn't exist. That a male and female force of divine law in creation, the expansive pole of divine order. So, their names spelled in the Medutu. So we're proving that the deity exists because many people didn't realize he exists. But he is also called Karan, the divine ferryman. Amongst the Greeks, they call him Karan, the ferryman. He's the divine ferryman in ancient Kemet. He's called Chawi and so forth. That's one of his titles as the one who governs that divine ferry boat that ferries the spirits across the waters and so forth. And there becomes a confusion between, in fact, I'm gonna pull up one more document with regard to that, just so you can see it. Okay. So this is him right here. He's also called Ma'ahaf, he who sees behind him and so forth. He's in the ferry boat and all of that. But that's the male divinity, Ma'a. And there's a confusion, amongst, when the Greeks started corrupting our traditions, him is Chawi, as also Chara, became Charan or Karan and so forth. The divine ferryman who ferries you across the river Styx and so forth. When you transition, you have to pay him money to get to the other side of the spirit realm. They stole the whole thing from, ancient Kemet. And then they confused the two between Karan and Kairan and so forth. But they're stealing these deities and their functions from ancient Kemet. So this is one of those divinities. But we can get, when you look in the different courses, many of those courses, when we're talking about different divinities, we're showing, where the quote unquote Greek divinities, as well as the fictional characters in the Bible and Quran and Talmud and so forth, as well as Buddha, another fictional character, Muhammad, a fictional character, where these characters come from. And we show the original divinities in comparison to the fake ones. So looking through those courses, if there are different names of divinities that you're trying to see who's who, a number of them we've covered. Now, some of them we haven't gotten to yet, but some of them we have. So look through, and the ones that you're looking for, you'll probably find within. If not, just send us a message and we'll look and see if we've covered them or not. If we haven't, eventually we will. Like in the Achinebwa animal totems, sacred animal totems of the original zodiac, we cover a number of them. And of course, those are misrepresented in, Greece and Rome and so forth. So we show the original deities from Kemet and why they have certain attributes and so forth. So. Okay. All right. All right, so if there are any other questions, if there are no other questions, we can go ahead and sign off. But we once again, hold on a second. Okay, just want to go back to make sure we didn't miss that. All right. So again, when people go to the SUSUW page on our website, We have a trailer here, but there's another thing that we have on the site that I forgot to mention. So this is what we have. All right. That's the trailer, the referral fee information. Of course, the flyers and the payment buttons right there to register for the course, payment options. But we also have a series of lives we've done on YouTube, many of them specifically dealing with different expressions of SUSUW meditation and its connotations and so forth, and ritual practices. For example, Merit Segert, the goddess of meditation and silence. She's the female divinity that governs the epiglottis. When you say ah and you cut off the air, that flap that covers the trachea and cuts off the air, but also protects the trachea. So when you're swallowing food, it doesn't go down the windpipe, it goes down the esophagus. It's a cobra-shaped flap that cuts off sound, so it establishes silence. That's her physical shrine in the body, but also spiritually, when you invoke that divinity, she silences the stream of thoughts that come into consciousness that distract you, so you can be pinpoint and focused, and you can go deeper into the spirit realm so you can access what you need to access. She also governs the gateway to the spirit realm for newly transitioned ancestresses and ancestors, to assist them, direct them on the right path to the pristine ancestral community, as opposed to being caught up by negative, discarnate, deceased spirits. So we talk about her, the goddess of silence. There is no silence and there is no meditation without Merit Segert. Many people are unaware of that. Effectuating male and female sacred balance through SUSUW, sacred forms and so forth. A number of different things that we talked about in that over the past, month or so. So as you can see, a number of different lives that we've done. All of them are, of course, on the YouTube channel. But for people who are unaware, they're just logging in or just finding out about the course and so forth. When they go to that page and you say you refer them to the course and they want to take the course and they see the flyer and the trailer and so forth, excuse me, see the trailer. When they scroll down, they'll also get a sense of, the kind of information that we cover, as well as some more in-depth information that we don't share with the general, public. When we go teach a session at a school or, a place of employment, we're focused on assisting them, no different than someone teaching Pilates or yoga or something, learning how to engage in SUSUW meditation so they can calm themselves, so they can maintain their focus, so they can strengthen their attention span and lower anxiety, lessen stress, and be more pinpoint and focused and enhance learning outcomes, enhance productivity, those kinds of things. Now, if some of those individuals, after you teach that session at their school or at their job or at a community center, they want to learn more information about cosmology and language and ritual practice, then you can engage them and show them how they can access that kind of information. But in general, we give people the basic introductory approach and the tangible benefits that they can experience immediately. Lowering stress, anxiety, enhanced outcomes, and all that kind of stuff. So, but when you're referring people to the course and they want to know more detailed information, when they scroll down on the page, they have access to all these various lives that we have done. And even as a new individual who just got turned on, if you turn someone on and you say, hey, there's a certification course coming up, if you would like to, take it, you can take this course, here's the page. But they themselves also, you can let them know if they refer someone to our course and the person, registers, then we will send them a $100 referral fee. So if you send out an email now and somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I just signed up for the course, you just let us know and we'll send you the $100 fee today. Or tomorrow, if you get a couple of people, As soon as they make their payment, we'll send you the payment. So, all right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. Yet I say we thank everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to us on, via the email associated with the account, with the course and so forth. Or we're also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as Odwirafo. Also Kwesi Akan on Facebook, but also Odwirafo. And again, as well as TikTok also. So again, yet I say we thank everyone for tuning in, and Yabesha Bio. We will meet again. That's it.